Welcome back to One-on-One with Mr. U. Of course, I am your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, professional speaker, management consultant, and award-winning author, Marcy Axelrod is here with us. Marcy, how are you this morning?
I am awesome, Mr. U. So thrilled to be with you.
Same here, same here. I'm so excited about this conversation. You've been so busy. It took us a long time to get here, but we're finally here now. I can't wait to hear what's going on in your world. Before we get into all of that stuff, if you're watching and listening for the very first time, first off, thanks for making us part of your week. We really are excited about that. If you're watching live on Facebook and YouTube, thanks for tuning in with us. Of course, after the show wraps today, about 60 to 90 minutes after that, this episode will be available on all listening platforms, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But thanks again for you guys that are watching, listening, making us part of your week. We're so excited about you being here. All right, Marcy, so we had a great pre-interview conversation. I want to get into a little bit about that, but let's talk about you a little bit before we get into all of your work. Who is Marcy? Where do you come from? How did you get from there to here? Give us a little tip about who you are. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe that everyone right now is the product of all their experiences. And I was really lucky in many ways. Two things really shaped me. First was a stuttering. I mean, really losing the ability to speak at age 6. Wow. Which turned my personal lens outward because I couldn't stand how I showed up. So I became this endless and avid disciple of how is everyone else choosing to show up. And I can explain more about that. But I'll tell you the second thing that I think really, really shaped me. My father, an incredibly humble man, kind of was pushed by his father to be a physician, but he was more of my dad was really more of an engineer. So he kind of stumbled into kind of figuring out that you could drink something radioactive and take a picture and see the inside. And it was the beginning of the thallium scan, which became the whole field of nuclear medicine and then radiology. So what my father discovered is really the precursor of, the CAT scan, the MRI, all of that. Okay. So at the dinner table, I'm next to him. And then on the other side of me is my mother, a pediatrician who would talk about how just encompassing it was for her when she saw a child who came in to just really try to understand, is there anything going on that I need to identify, to diagnose, that's going to change the trajectory of this child's life for the better. So sitting at the table at dinner every night, I said to myself, these people change the world. That's just what people do. We all change the world for the better. And that's what I need to do. And that's what I'm going to do. And there was nothing else to it. Like there was no ego. There was no fear. It was just, this is what we all do. We contribute our best and change the world for the better. So you asked me, who am I? And I think those are the two seminal things that made me me.
I love that. Now, you have a unique situation in that because you come from a solid family with what I describe as world changers at both ends of the table. Mom and dad kind of they changed the world in a impactful, tangible way.
Right.
What do you think you received, Marcy, that was different than that was unique, that kind of broke away from the mold of that, if I can phrase it in that way, which is something unique that you think is a unique path for you that's different from what you learned from mom and dad, directly or indirectly?
Well, I mean, I definitely, I'm not a physician. I definitely took my own path. I mean, what always fascinated me is, what leads us to do what we do and how do we become who we are? And I set out to study this. I mean, I was 12 years old when I said to myself, where's the model of how humans are designed to show up? Because at school at age 6, 7, 8, I was watching the bullies and the scaredy cats and the teachers doing nothing about it. I was noticing how the whole class responded when the teacher would ask a question and my hand would go up and everybody would just go, feeling my pain because they know I struggle to get even a sound out. And the way that it lived in me isn't their suffering because of me. It was their suffering with me. We feel each other. We're not separate. We are intertwined. We are all leaves on the same tree. So let's all care for each other. So I'm very much on my own path. Writing books, using the spoken word as well as the written word. And I also use the visual arts to get the word out there. I do resin work. I can walk around later in this podcast and show you. I just showed at the Grand Palais in Paris. I'm going to show in Venice. I did Art Basel, Miami. I mean, on and on, because art stops us. And just for a moment, we're open and we're receiving and we're fully here. And what research shows, when you're in an experience like that, in front of a piece of art that moves you, or at the base of a giant sequoia, as we learned from Dacher Keltner, who runs the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley, what we learned from that experience is that you become less of an ego and you become more kind, more helpful, more thoughtful, more caring, more open to people's thinking, more tolerant of others. So that's why, art is in me, and I very much integrate it into showing up, because it helps people do what I call level 3, truly showing up. We can talk about the levels if you want to, but
yeah, we're definitely going to come back.
I think people kind of can grok the main concept.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back to that for sure. Hold me accountable on that. I want to ask you to kind of speak to the listeners and the watchers today in one specific context. It feels like to me, it's well, I'll use an example, my own personal example. It's not exactly like yours, but it's designed to be similar. As somebody who uses my voice so much, as a singer, as a podcaster, as a teacher, as a pastor, as a leader, I have to use my voice. When you don't have your voice,
right,
it almost feels like you're in prison within yourself. You can't talk, you can't sing, you can't do anything that is essentially what you do all the time. Tell me, or I should say, speak to the people who are watching and listening, the frustration you felt with having so much inside of you, so much that you wanted to get out, and you couldn't verbalize it in the way you wanted to. It didn't line up with what was in your head. It wouldn't come out of your mouth the same way. There are people out here who are dealing with that in different ways, maybe not because of any kind of dysfunction or any kind of sickness, but because they have so much inside them, but they don't know how to put it out. They don't know how to verbalize it. They've never been taught how to let that creativity out. Explain the frustration of that. How did that feel? What did it look like for you? And encourage people who are watching and listening who may have the same or similar kind of situation. If that makes sense, go ahead.
Well, you are incredibly insightful with your original metaphor. I mean, in prison inside of yourself, 100%. I used to feel bolts of lightning come up from the earth, through my feet, through my body, exploding through my head into the sky. That I would feel my brain crackle, like the stress was unreal. And back then, I didn't know to go talk to someone about it. The stress was through the roof. I've never felt stress like that before that I did when I was, in grade school trying to get words out. I mean, what I would say to people, what I've learned now, you can either the body controls the mind or the mind controls the body, right? And we create our lives from the inside out, right? Life doesn't happen from the outside in, right? With other people's opinions and the world saying yes or no. We decide. So what I learned to do is to calm my body. I learned to use breathing, but I also really just kind of got lucky and I grew out of it. And I don't know if this is helpful for people to hear, but there's a point where you recognize that your presence is so impactful, silent, and you need not use words. What the cognitive and symbolic language does, the use of words, it can impede the clarity of the connection between and among humans, right? Ever felt that when someone walks into a room and it's like people pause and they notice because someone's energy, the Taurus energy of their heart, is just going out to everyone. They show up with such love for humanity. And you don't need words. And when people feel you and you feel them, it's part of level 3 truly showing up. It's, at least for me, it was much more fluent and easy for me to get words out.
Okay.
So those are kind of some like coaching tips that I would put out there. But I'll tell you, stuttering's tough.
Yeah. I had a
And I know why mine started, and I think I know why it ended.
Yeah.
Mine started because I moved at age 6. Everything changed. We moved. New school, new friends, new house, new everything. Mom and dad too busy. So I didn't have enough attention of just, I'm restarting too. Like, help me out. I'm 6 years old. Plus, of course, the genetic predisposition. But I'll tell you, other kids might have acted out in a different way. I'm not a kid to act out, so I acted in and ended up kind of making myself a little, deal with that, with the throat locking issue. Okay. But then I know when it went away, I was at college already, and I started to experience it less and less. And what a therapist helped me to understand, like in my 50s, she said, it went away because you didn't need it anymore. Oh, that crutch, that call for help, you were already launched. Mom and dad, like, you were there for you. You didn't need them to be there for you. So that's why you didn't need it, and it dissipated. And I just said, oh my God. So I hope this is helpful for people. It's not just stuttering that this relates to. People can apply this to anything: fear of speaking, fear of even being seen, fear of different, fear of actually communicating our authentic truth. I mean, all of it.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So tell me one time when Marcy didn't show up.
Oh boy, the little bits of every day. So I'll give you an example. My daughter and I are dealing with a medical issue that sent us to the emergency room last Friday. It's for her. And we were at a follow-up appointment with the doctor. And I said to myself, Marcy, she's a teenage girl. You just got to be quiet. The fact that you're in the room is a miracle. So just breathe. That's it. But some questions were asked, and I just felt like the information wasn't flowing, and I didn't get through. I had Marcy, you can send a message later. So I just, I blurted out a few things, and of course my daughter blew up. So there you go. I mean, it happens every day. So the way the continuum works is that we dance along it all day long. Like when you're well slept and you just meditated and you've had, the right nutrition, you might be in level 3. And you can look at even people who would irk you and just feel love and feel an openness. And that's when the question will come to mind of, hey, like, how was your daughter's little league last week? I remember you talking about it, right? And the person's going to feel cared about and considered. But then you're tired or you're stressed or something comes up or you're tight on time or your back hurts. You've just kind of been sitting there for too long. And that's when, like, you start to move down from level 3 to level 2 and maybe into like a little bit of level 1, depending on how stressed you are. So like we're all always dancing along this continuum all day long, which makes it, and this is key, which makes it a permission system. Everyone gets to be who they are, where they are, when they are, and that's their journey. And our job is to invite, to model the openness that we're hoping for, the calm body, the open thinking, the uplifting way of moving through the world. That's our job. And the deep presencing with an open-heartedness, right? Which is a very right hemispheric thing. If you want to get into that, we can. People will feel it. Doesn't mean in that moment, they're suddenly going to become who you want them to be or who you wish they would be. But over time, I mean, they're going to remember. And it's going to live in them. How we show up to them lives in them. Because how we show up exists and it's experienced and it's out there. The energy is always flowing. It's always out there. You can never not show up.
Got it. So I want to get into those the card you were showing a couple of times there, and kind of just get into what it looks like to show up, and then I guess as you phrased it, to truly show up. So show us what the 3 levels are. We'll kind of get into that. And you can answer that question at the same time if you want to integrate that into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, bottom line, I mean, there are quality levels inherent in everything. Everyone knows this. When you feel really good about yourself, and when you walk out and you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, how could I have done that? I should have prepared better, right? We all know this. So what I did is after really, this is nature's model. It's not Marcy Axelrod's model. It's nature's model of how humans are designed to show up, which is why the book says nature's playbook for creating a meaningful life. But the 3 levels, and you can intuit this, right? Barely there, like you really can't show up. You're exhausted, you're grieving, you're burned out, but it's like really low, and you can get stuck there. You're depressed.
Right.
You're really stuck. You can't even see sometimes a way out when you're down in level 1, which is red. Level 2 is just showing up. That's the danger zone, because you're kind of getting by, right? You're just busy. You get up, you go through the motions.
You're kind of improvising.
You're improvising your way through, but you're a human doing. You're sleepwalking back, and you're like, what the hell happened? Not living the life I want to lead. Why are my relationships not fulfilling? Why am I not who I want to be? That's what level 2. That's the curse of level 2. And here's a better depiction of it for you. So basically, there's a rainbow target, and level 1, 2, and 3. And what the target's doing is it's the beginning of the model that okay. But so level 2, let's just talk about that. You're very much living in an abstraction. I need to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. You're getting stuff done, but the creativity isn't flowing. You're not deeply presencing with it, because if you were, you would have new ideas. You'd be excited. You would be kind of flowing with the music. Instead, in the left hemisphere, what happens is you're in the map, not the territory. You look at the person next to you, and they're just an object. You don't notice that, oh my God, they aren't feeling that well, I can tell. Or they're sad about something. They're just there. Yeah. And, on the road, you're just angry at the person in front of you. You're impatient instead of, wow, like, I wonder if they have a headache. I wonder if I should offer them some Advil through the window, right? So there's a huge difference.
You're better than most of us, Marcy. We're not thinking about doing that. You're better than most of us are, because that's not what we're thinking about.
most people have never even considered that. So let me explain this. When we lived out in the savannah, right, thousands of years ago, we needed to do 2 things to survive. And that's why the brain is split in 2. We needed to eat, think, grab, get, control over, power over, get it done fast, eat, and not be eaten. So we had to be safe. We had to be able to see the expanse. We had to see the big picture. Is that a massive storm cloud way back there? Do I need to go and let the tribe know? Is there a predator way over there? So 1 is about controlling things. And what happens, like when we see that elk run by and we just like everything else disappears. We just need to run after it and kill it and bring it back. When we need to do that, everything disappears. Time actually freezes. We're no longer able to perceive either space or time. We're narrowed in on this teensy bit. Our attention is right there and everything else is gone. And we are not perceiving the truth of what's really going on, because our attention lets us focus like that because we needed to kill the elk and survive. This is when we actually know everything in our minds. We know everything we need to know. Why? Because there's no time to consider, oh, is that a mommy elk? And like, maybe there's babies and maybe I shouldn't kill this one. It looks a little young, right? No, there's no time to consider anything. So we know everything. And in fact, if you ask someone who has had a stroke in their right hemisphere and has a paralyzed limb, if you ask them about that paralyzed limb, they'll say, oh, that's not my arm. Doctor, that's your arm. Or that's the arm of the patient over there. Or that's my mother's arm. I am literally quoting from a book by Ian McGilchrist called The Matter with Things. And there are 2,000 plus page volumes to this book with over 6,500 references. And he's an MD, he's a psychiatrist. So anyway, the point is when you're in your left hemisphere, just get it done mode, which is where we are often when we're in level 2, you literally think you know everything, you're open to nothing, no curiosity or questions arise, no love arises, you don't feel emotion, you're just getting shit done. So you kind of become like a machine and you're not living in the real world. And this is how a lot of us live because society has pulled us out of nature. Society thinks that a human within a company is a resource. I mean, even the lexicon that we're taught to use is inhuman and inhumane at the same time. As we move into level 3, what you're really doing with level 3 is you're doing what we're supposed to do, which is go back and forth between the right and the left hemisphere. So you take new information in to the right side. You can perceive it only because your body's relaxed and you're open. And then you process, what does this mean in the left side? But then you're supposed to return it, recontextualize it in the bigger picture. And that's a right hemisphere activity. And what the book explains is how we roll kind of through the world today and what the world has led us to do in terms of our behavior and how level 2 shows up and how it's the striving, it's the I'll be contented and I'll come home and be with my children when I get, when I achieve this next thing, or when I have this amount of money or this title, or I need to prove myself to others because I really only live based on others' opinions. And that's what matters. None of that is how nature designed humans to show up, right? There is never one tree that looks at another and says, I'm better than you because I get, a little more sun than you on this branch. So I bloom sooner, So we aren't designed to feel anyone else's opinion either. We're designed to show up as our best self, loving, giving, uplifting.
I love that. All right, so we got time for one more question. And first off, congratulations on your latest book, How We Choose to Show Up. So #1 bestseller.
Thank you. So with a quote from Mel Robbins. So thank you, Mel, for recognizing it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So congratulations on that one. That's really fantastic. For you guys that are watching and listening, if you want to get in contact with Marcy and reach her, choosetoshowup.com. You can get access to her, the information, her books, the work that she's doing, choosetoshowup.com. It's going to be in the show notes. So if you're watching or listening, easy to find the link, choosetoshowup.com. Final question before we get out of here. What you think about this? I'm not sure if it's in your book or not, but how do you balance these two areas? Because this is what the whole time I heard you talk, this is what I was thinking about. Doing good for yourself and contributing to the great. How do you balance that? Because some people think, if I do this, if I do good for myself, that is contributing. If I contribute to the great, it's good for me to do that. And some people think, I got to do both or neither. So how do you balance doing good for yourself and contributing to the greater, if you will? Because I feel like it's a delicate balance because you can't do one only and ignore the other. There has to be some kind, it doesn't have to be a blend of the two, but it has to definitely be an intentional effort by each of us as humans to do both. What do you think about that? as brief as you can answer that question. I know that was a bit of a tough question probably, but can you answer that
No, it's
question?
a very easy question, and it's not a thinking answer. It's a feeling answer, and it's a living answer. So I always focus on others because that is what gives to me.
Okay. So that's your contribution
I'll
to the
just give
world.
you an example. I just came from, Art Expo where I had 3 pieces of art there. They didn't sell. And there's a friend of mine who has always loved those pieces. And I said to her, they're in my car. Let me come drop them off. That's $12,000 of art. I just said, let me come drop them off. You've always loved these. It's going to be so meaningful to me that you wake up and see them every day. Wow. And how can I pay you back? I'm like, you know what? Next time I come over, you can give me some ice water. You know what I'm saying? And the nonlinear brilliance of life, Mr. Yu, what happened is her son had 5 minutes left with this chess coach who was there. And I walk in and I meet the chess coach on his way out. And he said, I was just at Art Expo. I'm like, that's where my pieces just were. And he said, may I have your card? I love your pieces. So this is how life happens. He may turn out to be a collector of mine, or he may let someone else know about it. And that is how it happens. Mm. So you say, what's the balance of A and B? I'm like, there's no A and B. It's all one. And by the way, there is no balance. Nature is an endless flow. It's a toroid. Like you can.
I love it. Okay. I appreciate the answer. It sounds really good. Thank you for doing that. All right. So choosetoshowup.com, if I can find your work. What else do people need to know about you before we let you get back to the rest of your day?
Some of the speeches that I'm giving these days, what a lot of corporate buyers want is how can we help our people feel more connected? Because they recognize that that's how they get creativity and the best work. That's how they get loyalty. That's how they get retention. When people feel connected at work, they're more authentic. I mean, everything works out better. So, I mean, those are some of the questions that I'm asked, right? How can people feel more connected at work? How can leaders be better? How can managers be better? There's a lot of the same topics that are kind of asked in a different way. And how can people in general feel better about themselves? What?
What's the central answer to that question for you? I mean, generally speaking, how would you answer that? If you had to give one answer to
it's the answer of how do you get from level 2 to level 3? So I'll give people 2 quick ways, but I mean, it's a bigger picture. One is recognize your body has to be calm. So sit and breathe and calm yourself. The stuff is on your mind. You have to write it out and get it out and process that. And then there's a bunch of beliefs. Is this a kind universe or a mean one? What do you fundamentally believe? So those are some of the things that contribute to people moving up to level 3, but also knowing we are interconnected. We are all one. We are leaves on a tree. I have 2 TED Talks that explain that.
I love it. Management consultant, professional speaker, #1 best-selling author of Choose to Show Up, Marcy Axelrod. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, Mr. Yu, thank you for the work that you're doing. It's such an honor.
Your pleasure is mine. If you're watching, listen for the very first time, again, thank you for making us part of your week. We are live on YouTube and Facebook right now. I'm going to be asking Marcy to follow me on all social platforms. If you have any questions, you want to drop in the comment section. I'll be looking for her to answer those. I don't want to try to answer for Marcy. That's not my assignment. I'm going to make sure that everybody else is doing. Marcy's answering her own questions there. So you have a question for her or a concern about something, or you have something that you would love for her to speak to, allow her to do that in the comment section everywhere where this episode is being found. And of course, hopefully within 60 to 90 minutes of this show's wrapping, we'll be on all listening platforms as well. This episode will be. But if you're watching us, any of our 4 shows, thanks again for making us part of your week and part of your day. You will support us financially as well. You got a Patreon and a Buy Me a Coffee in the show notes. Check it out. Love to have your support on any level that you can do that. But that's Marcy Axelrod. I'm Mr. Yu. We're out here. Have a fantastic day. Thanks again for watching and for listening.